Hey folks, this is Randy Shea. I'm in front of the Victor Town Hall today, and I have sort of a little parable or a little analogy that I want to start off with, and that is that I want you to think about this question. That if somebody puts the fox in charge of the hen house, you should say, who put the fox in charge of the hen house? The manager. All right, so this is how it goes. Basically, let's just say there's an owner of a hen house, okay, and the owner is going to go off and they're going to do something. Maybe they're taking a family vacation or they're doing other things in their life. So they say, okay, well, I got to hire a manager to watch over the hen house. Okay? So they hire a manager. They go off and do their thing, and they come back, and half of the hens, half of the chickens are gone. And then, what happened to all my chickens? And the manager says, well, it wasn't my fault, but I hired a fox to manage the hen house. Well, I was, you hired me, I hired them. So the fox was watching, it's the fox's fault now that things are not right in the hen house. Now, who are you going to blame? Are you going to blame the fox? Or are you going to blame the manager or the owner? You could possibly blame the owner a little bit for making the wrong choice in choosing a manager, but you definitely could blame the manager for hiring a fox to watch over the hen house, right? So this is what's been going on in Victor, New York, town of Victor, New York. And I use this as an analogy, but it really plays out. This has been going on for over 10 years now, ever since Jack Marin took office. He has rolled out the red carpet to developers. Instead of keeping a 7-person planning board, he reduced it down to 5 because it was easier to control. All right? So that's one problem. And the other thing is that he hired Labella, who is actively looking for clients within the town of Victor, making money doing architectural design, but at the same time getting paid by the town to come inside the hen house, so to speak, and get all of our codes and all of the different things that are going on, and doing a property inventory and all that, having all kinds of inside information for what they do in helping and assisting developers. They're absolutely pro-development. I equate them to the fox. You don't blame the fox for doing what the fox is going to do. But Labella is making money from the town. They're making money from helping out and being an architect, and or they're feeding the business to other architects and contractors. They're the go-to person. Now they're making money also by charging the village for doing presentations, charging the town, okay, charging the state, New York State, okay. I mean, I'm talking about like close to $1 million a year that the town pays them, okay, for whatever services they do. I'm not saying they do bad work. I'm just saying that it's so biased towards pro-development that this is what's happened. And the manager is Jack Marin. The manager should get the blame for this because, this is just a story right now, but I'm telling you, they did not require, the planning board did not require a larger radius for the environmental impact studies, number one. They didn't require Labella to consider Victor Insulator one of the companies that could be adversely impacted by taking out the rail. Now that's a whole nother subject as to why that's pro-development. Pro-development is basically, it doesn't help developers at all if Victor Insulator stays there, right? Nobody can develop it because it's already developed, right? So it's Victor Insulator. But if they go out of business, if they're adversely impacted and they eventually go out of business because they take out the rail, that's actually good for developers. That's more property that can be developed. If the rail gets taken out all the way if it gets taken out, because they're talking about possibly taking the rail out all the way to 332. Some people are talking about that. In fact, a lot of the planners think that's a good idea. The village mayor says there is no more rail in Victor, New York, after they basically the current carrier, the current person that railway company that was running it said we're not going to do it anymore. You know, they're deactivating it. They're not going to service Victor Insulator. And a stopgap measure of trucking in supplies and stuff. It keeps Victor Insulator afloat short term, but once that's gone, our subsidy, not only that, but the quality control, there's like a lot of issues as to why the trucking is not good. If you're somebody who believes in the environment, freight train transportation is 20% less in terms of like diesel fuel to run a diesel freight train than it is to run tractor trailer trucks. So if you're into the green, you know, we got to reduce the carbon footprint and all that other stuff, that's another reason to keep the rail. There's a whole bunch of reasons. But when you're so pro-development, you put the Fox in charge of the hen house, what's happened is, all right, so all these new roads, they're going to cost money, right? Why wasn't the town for the last 10 years saying, okay, if you want to develop, you got to ante up. We need to put this into our capital reserve fund for the new roads we're going to have to build because of all the development. We're going to have you put a little bit more money over here to the water and sewer because we don't have the capacity to hold it. We're going to have to build new facilities. So you got to ante up there. If you want to improve your development, it's something, Parks and Recreation does it already. They have, every time a development gets approved, money goes into their fund. Well, why not for roads, and why not for the sewer, and why not for the other types of infrastructure that we need? Because the town, under Jack Marin, I don't know if he had some incentive outside of his job or what, but it really is going to hurt the taxpayers because guess who's going to be on the hook? Once the developers are done here in Victor and they're moved on to something else, there's nothing really more to develop. Who's going to pay for all that infrastructure cost? Now they're going crazy about trying to get grant money, which, okay, great, but there's always strings attached to that, so maybe we'll get some grant money to help pay. But you know who's going to be on the hook mostly? It's you, the taxpayers. Right? The Village of Victor Mayor also, all he does is play second fiddle to whatever Jack says. I could even show you a video where he pretty much says that. Well, pretty much whatever the town says is good is what we go along with. And he said that in a recent meeting when they had a joint meeting recently. I was like, and then the other village trustees, they didn't even chime in. They didn't, I don't know if they were told not to or what, but there was no vote, there was no nothing. It was just a presentation by Labella about what they thought should happen. And by the way, there was a lot about what Labella put together that was so unpopular that they did not vote for it. Neither did the village vote for it. It's not been adopted, this quote-unquote plan. The presenter even said this is a concept. This is up to you to decide what you want to do and stuff. So is it a plan or is it just concepts? Is it just, you know, here's what you could do? And that's what it is, really. Okay, so that all happened. That's what's happened. What's going to happen moving forward is you who do not want the taxes to go up like crazy high, you have got, because there's not much time left, there's not much development left here, you have got to get the town supervisor to expand it out to 7 people on the planning board again, expand out the radius for every developer who has to do an environmental impact study, and require anybody who wants development in Victor to ante up, to put into the funds that need it to be there. They have to be there. Somebody's going to have to pay for the new roads, the new sewers. Oh yeah, by the way, I believe Ontario County landfill is going to be filled up, and I really don't know enough about it to comment, but what are we going to do without having Ontario County taking our landfill? I think our costs are going to go way up there too. As far as the recycling center, is that up in the air? There are so many things that they need. I think the highway department does need bigger and better facilities, but that's going to cost us money too. So who has been letting the developers run hog wild, put the Fox in charge of the hen house? Jack Marin. Don't blame the Fox. That would be Labella. Labella's just doing what Labella's gonna do. That's all I got to say. Have a good one.